Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and it's the start of 2026. So we're jumping into the new year with some new year, new something episodes. On this episode, Cat Voleur returns to the show to kick it off with the New Year, New You episode talking about The Substance. Cat Voleur is a horror author with such books as Revenge Arc, My Apologies to Tanya Grace, and her upcoming nonfiction debut, Queer Tastes. She is also the co-host of the Nick F and Woo Cagecast, Willem Dafoe. Welcome back to the show, Cat.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me for the substance.
No, definitely. Yeah, we talked about it briefly. I told you what I had coming up, and you were like, "Oh, I would love to do the substance," and so definitely got you on for that. Um, yeah, I definitely I loved this movie when it first came out. It was insane. But we'll get into that in just a minute. But yeah, this whole month of January, I'm doing New Year, New Something. Just kind of a fun little thing. Every month this year so far, for the most part, will have some kind of theme around it. I try to do that in general anyway, but this I tried to make themes this year, and mostly it's this year I'm doing episodes that are on mostly on movies that have come out in the last 5 or 6 years that I haven't gotten to yet. So it's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of newer stuff. There is going to be a John Carpenter retrospective peppered throughout the year. I'm going to be over the course of 4 separate months. I'm going to be talking about his movies as well. So about I think 16 of his movies. It's not every single movie, but it's most of his movies. Um, and uh, and I'll even be covering a couple that I've covered previously in episodes before, like Halloween and The Thing, because this will be the first time I get to do them individually. So so I'm
Right.
sure
You can
Cat will be back
get
for some of
into it
that
a little
stuff.
bit more.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that being said, I really wanted to kick it off with the new year, new something thing because it just seemed like a fun way to start the year off. Because everybody's always trying to do that with New Year's resolutions. I don't make
Yeah.
New Year's resolutions because one, I generally fail at them when I have made them, and two, I just try to live you know, I try to just do better in general. Anyway, I don't normally
Yeah.
get that. I don't normally do that well on that stuff anyway. But I figure, I'm me. I figure I'm leading a good enough life that I shouldn't have to make too many resolutions. Don't get me wrong. I'm getting older. I'd like to get healthier. But other than that, I I want to keep making this podcast, so that's what I'm going to keep doing. That's my New Year's resolution is just to keep making this podcast. So,
That's a better one than mine.
all right, what's yours?
So I try to be a decent enough person. I've got my failings, but I
No, I mean we
try
all do.
like throughout the year, I read a lot of self-improvement books and I try to slowly build up healthier habits
Right, yeah.
away from my natural state. So I always use my New Year's resolutions to pick like a couple of just weird things that I want to do for me. Um, and this year's uh this year's are I think a really good representation of what I've been thinking about recently. I want to eat more sandwiches in 2026. I didn't do that enough in 2025. I and I have also decided that I would like to write more spiteful letters. I re in October I chose the new hobby for myself of writing angry letters to Jason Blum. And I did it kind of as a joke. But now they just are like sitting around my house. So I'm gonna mail those, and then I guess I'm
Oh
gonna
my
keep
Lord.
doing it because you have to buy like a package of stamps. So I want to write enough angry letters to justify buying a package of stamps. And
That's too
that's what
funny.
I'm up to this year.
Oh my God. That is too funny. Yeah, I'm definitely not doing that.
It's
But
you know,
more
you've
power
got
to
to
you.
find what works for you.
Yeah. Oh man, that's too funny.
Usually no one asks me about resolutions. So the funny thing is for like the last 10 years I've had equally unhinged resolutions that no one has asked about and I've just gone about my business.
Well,
You know,
so yeah, so I don't make any resolutions, but like I did do something today and I posted it as we're recording this. I posted it to my Instagram today. And that was I bought a cheap like not cheap, but like just a an affordable turntable, and I bought a vinyl album for the first time in got at least 20 years or close to 20 years. Um, because I had been resisting this for a long time. And because I was just like, I know, because I'm not much of I collect physical stuff, but I do most of my like entertainment stuff through digital.
hmm
Like I watch everything, through streamers, or I buy, movies through what's now Fandango at home, but used to be Vudu. Um, but so I buy movies through there, and yeah, I know I don't technically own them through that. That's fine. I don't buy them expensively. They're usually on the cheap there. So if I lose them, I get it. It's whatever. But typically they're between $5 to $10. But I will
Sure.
say this: I've been getting movies from them since like 2012. And as far as I've seen, none of it goes away. Even if it's no longer available to buy through them, they still let me have the version that I bought. So, which I think is good.
That's good.
And occasionally, like stuff that I bought on, HDX quality, they'll once in a while, throw me a bone and bump it up to 4K for free. It's been rare, I'll admit, but it does happen. But yeah, so today I was just this is in part to due to the Stranger Things finale, which we won't get into here. But in the Stranger Things finale, there's a couple of needle drops by Prince. I'm a big Prince fan, have been for a long time, and way back in the day, I used to actually own vinyl records, and I had most, if not all, of his stuff up to that current time period um on vinyl. I had all of his albums on vinyl, including a smattering of his 7-inch singles as well, because I was like, I really want the B-sides. So anyway, so because those two needle drops were in Stranger Things, I was like, oh my God, that's really cool. And I remembered that the Walmart near me had the picture disc version of Purple Rain there. So I was like, okay, I need to go check to see if they've got it. They still did. I got that and a turntable, and I was just like, okay, I'm good. But now I'm like, now I've got a turntable. Now I need to collect vinyl. So I'm like, damn it. So, but now I
An
can like,
expensive hobby.
it, it like looking at it, like it really kind of is, but at the same
Yeah,
time, like I'm not going to get into it like crazy bad because again, I listen to most of my stuff. I have Spotify, so most of the time that I do listen to music, it's in the car. I don't typically listen
sure.
to a lot of music at home, but I figure, hey, if I've got it at home, it'd be kind of neat to put on an album or something if I'm doing something that doesn't require me to, that I'm not paying attention to something else. So I thought that would be fun and neat. And then I could maybe find some albums that were older that I missed out on. Like
Yeah.
there's an Evil Dead: The Nightmare Reimagined album that Mondo put out years ago that I
hmm
would have liked to have had. I've never heard that album before. It's like all the music from the original Evil Dead re-recorded um by the composer. And so I've always wanted that because it's got great album artwork by Graham Humphreys. Also, I actually have reprints of the album artwork on my walls here in my room. I bought them from Humphreys online. Um, and
That's cool.
so yeah, so I always wanted to get that album, but I didn't have the turntable and was just like, oh, I don't want to get into it. But now I got into it. So so
It's it's a slippery slope. My dad like
yeah.
used to collect vinyl records, and then we moved. He gave up the turntable. The records still came with us.
Yeah.
And then like a handful of years ago for Christmas, like he ended up getting another like portable, like one of those small turntables.
That's what I have. Yeah.
And so I started getting him like vinyl records of things that he had missed during the time he had not
Mm.
had a turntable. But it very first of all, the turntable now lives like in my office, and it's been acquired into my work possessions, and I only own like four vinyls, so it's not a great system. But I did
Yeah.
recently get they had you could get the Sinners soundtrack and the
Oh,
Sinners score, and then it was like this is the most money I've ever spent on music in like a day. This
yeah.
is insane.
Yeah, I definitely can see myself grabbing some stuff. Now, I was literally just looking up stuff like online, just trying to go, okay, what do I want to get? Because I do like music. I try to buy stuff. Like I've bought through Bandcamp so that I have because
Yeah,
I like getting stuff digitally. And if an artist has stuff through Bandcamp, then it makes it a little bit better because, yeah, sure, it's probably always going to be on Spotify, but you never know. And it'd be nice to have that digital backup. And so I try to do that, is always have some kind of digital backup for myself.
yeah.
Um, and At least in terms of music. And then, but yeah, I only own the one album right now, just Prince's Purple Rain, which was definitely a must-have for myself. But yeah, between maybe getting some more of his stuff, maybe getting some other stuff from people I like, um, maybe some synthwave stuff, which will be fun. But also, I may have to track down some of my old punk records that I used to have because that's what I had. I had Prince and I had punk stuff because I was in the I was a fan of the local Albuquerque punk scene in the mid '90s. And so it'd be funny to kind of try to search some of that down and see what I can find. So we'll see. I don't know. It's definitely something I've been trying to avoid for a long time because I definitely don't need another thing to collect. So, but
Yeah. It's
it is
tough.
what it
They
is.
sneak up on you and
They do. So, but all right. Well, that's all I got going on for the new year so far. So we'll see how that goes. So,
I've been
but
doing bad on my very easy resolution. I went out for a sandwich today and saw that they were today was actually National Buffet Day, so I had
oh,
an excuse to not to not do the one very easy thing I've said I was going to do this year. So,
oh, that's too funny.
but
Uh,
tomorrow, a
there you go.
sandwich for real.
There you
It's
go.
happening.
As long as your goal wasn't to have a sandwich every day, because that would
Yeah,
kind of
it
get
wasn't a sandwich
boring
every
and
day. It
old.
was just
Yeah.
more sandwiches.
Okay, I gotta ask, why more sandwiches? Is just something you like that you want to incorporate into your diet more?
Well, first of all, it's healthier for me. I eat so many instant noodles. So I've got to stop doing that. But
Yeah.
also, like when I had the dental procedure, I there were
Mm,
like there was a month, right, where I was eating like mostly mashed potatoes because everything hurt so bad.
yeah.
And I'm not like a sandwich person usually, but it was something that I was just like really craving. And it was like when I am able to eat stuff again, I'm gonna go sandwich crazy. I'm gonna get sandwiches from everywhere all the time. And I'm trying to live up to that. It's a new year before I have my next dental procedure, because then it's going to be like mashed potatoes for a month, and then I'm going to have a month's worth of sandwiches to make up for on top of everything. But
Well, there you go. Yeah, no, I mean, sandwiches are always good. Just have to,
they're good.
hit every kind of place that's got sandwiches. So,
Yeah, they're underappreciated, and I
yeah.
used to underappreciate them, and now I'm working my way through the Jersey Mike's menu like nobody's business, except on
That's funny.
National Buffet Day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I was just at Mellow Mushroom yesterday, and instead of
Mm.
getting pizza, I had a like a steak and cheese sandwich. So, which was
Ooh,
good. Like a almost like a Philly steak, but you know, slightly different. So, but it was good. It was good. All
good.
right. Well, let's go ahead and jump in to the substance.
All right.
This is the movie that came out in 2024. It was my number one movie for that year.
It was also
Number one
my
horror
number
movie.
one
Yeah.
movie. My
Yeah,
number
no.
one anything movie.
Yeah,
My
no,
number
it
one horror movie is always my number one everything
yeah,
movie. I don't think
true.
there's ever been a difference for me, but
Yeah,
um
I don't know if that I had any extra like other yeah, I would say that was probably my number one of all movies, but yeah, it was just so good that it had to be my number one. So
yeah.
go ahead.
It
You were
was
about to say
really
something.
embarrassing for me because I like we were ramping up on the Nick F and Wu Cage cast, and I I was we had been through kind of a rough streak of his movies, and then we were
Right.
finally starting to get to like the really good stuff, and then Long Legs came out, and went on the podcast and I was like, it's so cool because this is gonna be like my number one movie of the year is going to be Long Legs on the Nick F and Wu Cage cast. And then it wasn't even a full month that The Substance came out. And it's like, this is why I don't call movie of the year this early.
Yep.
Like, that didn't even, I loved Long Legs so much and it didn't even last a month. My top spot,
That's
which
too
was
funny. I'm trying to see now of where Longlegs landed on my list.
and I knew that Coralie Farge, because I was already a fan of hers,
Yeah.
and I knew that she had a movie coming out, but the trailer made it look like it was gonna be kind of a throwback to those like 80s exercise horror movies,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
really was not a huge fan of. And it's like I'm sure it's going to be very good as a loving respect to like something that I don't like that much. I There's no way that it's gonna see Long Legs and egg on my face. Two malformed eggs on my face, I guess.
Right. Yeah, Longlegs ended up being number six on my list for
Six.
last year. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
It was number two
Yeah,
for me. Like it
yeah,
stayed close. It was up there, but
yeah. No, one of his new movies made it into my top 10 again this year. So definitely uh
oh,
he's good stuff. But I can't talk about my top 10 yet because I haven't
of course.
recorded my top 10. So, but we will eventually get to it. But yeah, no, I just this movie was so fantastic, came out of nowhere. It was like it, yeah, the marketing was weird on it, but it was just like I was just fascinated enough in it based on the trailers that, seeing Demi Moore in this movie and getting the gist that there was something going on where she was transforming into Margaret Qualley's character. Um and I was just like, okay, this is going to be a weird movie. I'm definitely going to go see this and you know hopefully enjoy it. And yeah, it just blew me out of the water. And immediately, I'm pretty sure it was immediate, like, yeah, that's top of the list. So like it just leaped all the way above everything else for that year.
And I usually like with my favorite movies, I very seldom am aware that I'm watching my movie of the year. Usually my top
hmm
spot, it's something that I'm like so engrossed in that don't even think about other movies or rankings or like all of the stuff my brain is usually occupied with. That's usually how it gets to be movie of the year is because I get to shut my brain off to other things for a while.
Right.
I had a I remember the moment like sitting in theater and the Monstro Elizasu title card comes up and I was like, this is my movie of the year. Like I just there's I this movie's already given me so much and I'm about to get a third act and I don't even really care what's in it. I'm in. I'm along for the ride. Um
That's funny because, we'll get into it, but definitely at that moment in the movie, and this is we're gonna get to this, so but I'm
yeah.
gonna tease it now. It took me out. It still was my number one movie, but once that started happening, it took me out. So we'll get to that.
It took so I sometimes I go through this thing. I think maybe we've talked about this before on some of my other appearances where my dad really likes movie theaters and my partner really likes having date nights that are out of the house because I'm kind of a homebody. And my mom, who used to take me to a lot of movies when I was a kid, sometimes feels left out. And she'll
Right.
sometimes complain to me, she'll be like, I'm the only person that you interact with regularly that doesn't get to go to the movies all the time. And it's like, yeah, that's fair. So and she went to see Longlegs with I went a second time to Longlegs,
Mm,
made sure that my
okay.
mom got to see it. And then I was like, hey, mom, I'm on my way. I'm gonna go see The Substance. I don't really know what it's about. Do you want to come with me? And she's like, yeah, sure. Uh, my very squeamish mother. Um, and she she was taken out at that point in the movie, and we fought on the way home, like, about this movie because I was like I was in immediately. I was in so hard for this movie and she did not like it. And then like we kind of got into an embarrassingly large fight about this. Because she's like, you're so mean to all of the movies that I like, and you're being like really defensive about this absolutely nonsense movie. And then I was like, when it made it to the Oscars, I was like texting all the time. I was like, Oscar nominated film The Substance. And I was being kind of mean about it. I was being a little bit petty. But then she was the bigger person. She had my dad watch it. I assuming to like have him on her side with this. And I got
Right.
a text from her one day and she's like, you know what? I rewatched The Substance and I get it. It's like, okay. Thank
No.
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we
But
gotta. Well,
she wasn't
yeah.
there
Well.
right away, you
Yeah.
know. She was
Yeah.
like not pleased with me walking out of this movie.
Yeah. That's interesting too, especially I'm assuming she's an older woman, so you would think that she would
I
connect more with
I
it than anything
really
else.
thought she was gonna get like on I thought she might like it more than I did, to be honest,
Right.
because she and I had kind of like she had also not liked Revenge a whole lot,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
Coralie Farge's other
Yeah.
big movie before this. And but she was like, I really like the directing. And it was always kind of one of those things where it's like, if we could find a movie that was about something that my mom likes more than like Revenge, I think she's going to be really in. And I thought this was going to be like the one for her, and then she didn't
Right.
like it. And uh, she was like really grossed out and just not pleased with me.
Well, let's talk about the movie just a little bit.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, The Substance is about Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth Sparkles. She is a former actress. Well, I mean, I guess still kind of a current actress at the time when the movie starts. But she's, had a good long career. She's got a star on the Walk of Fame. She's, that's mentioned in there that she's got an Oscar. And so she's this, and she's older. She's, they say
Uh,
something about her being 50 in this,
yeah.
which Demi Moore at the time when she made the movie was 60. Um, but it's that doesn't have anything to do with it. I just think it's interesting that she's already 60, but Demi Moore looks great, and so she
Demi
could
Moore
play
looks
that
better at
50.
60 than I look today. I she
Yeah,
she
she
looks
looks
so
better at
good.
60 than I look today at 51. So so
I, for
um
reference, am Margaret Qualley's age and would kill to look like Demi Moore.
yeah, but I think she was so perfectly cast, and like looking at some of the trivia on this, like she was not the first person. She wasn't even considered originally by Coralie Farge for um the role. And it wasn't until she came in and Farge read the her Demi Moore's autobiography and learned all this stuff about her and um her own struggles with aging and being a woman in Hollywood and all of this that like it really connected them together with the material and stuff. And I think Demi Moore is perfectly cast.
Oh yeah.
She is somebody who herself has never been nominated for any of the major awards, and only with this movie won most of the major awards except for the Oscar. She didn't end up winning the Oscar, which again I think she was completely robbed.
Criminal.
Um, because she was so fantastic in this. I was just like that. This is a career defining role for her. If you have not
Yeah.
seen this movie, you really need to stop listening to us. Go watch the movie and then come back.
Yeah.
Because
Get on
it
this.
is, yeah. And if you want to keep listening and then go back and watch it, definitely go watch it because it is so good. It is so basically the story is that she is this older person. She's at this point in her life she's doing like an exercise TV show, similar to like what Jane Fonda was doing in the 80s, where her career kind of transitioned from acting to making workout videos. um so it's kind of like a little parallel with that. And it but she has aged out. Her producer, played disgustingly by Dennis Quaid. Um, he basically sends her packing and then starts the search for somebody younger. Um, and that's what is it that happens? Something happens that she ends up in a car crash. She's like paying attention to something else on the road,
Yeah,
on the
she
side
sees
of the
her
road.
billboard
Oh,
getting
she
taken
sees her
down,
billboard
like
getting taken down. Yeah. Like everything just about her is just being erased. And so she gets into a car accident, and at the hospital she's approached by I guess it was a nurse, who gives her the he gives her the flash drive, right, for the substance.
yeah. And a note
Um
that says it changed my life.
yeah. So she gets it. She, finally, watches what's on the flash drive. Tells her that she can become a younger, more beautiful version of herself. Um, so she goes ahead and orders it after some, back and forth a little bit. But she's just watching as like everything in her life is just kind of like falling apart. Um, and So she orders the substance and like figures out, and then the whole deal is like, so I'm way explaining this wrong. Um,
Yeah.
but she basically, the substance, she can exist for 1 week as this younger self and then has to switch back and forth. And you have to take care of each of the bodies during those weeks off. And you have to respect the balance. You have to be 1 week on, strictly 7 days on, 7 days off for both of them. Um, and there are repercussions, which you find out through the course of this movie. Um, and it's interesting though too, because like I do think anybody who is doing this substance is set up to fail. Because they they say that you're the same person,
Yes.
but you obviously don't have all the same memories and stuff
No,
when
I
you
think
do
you
the
do have the
switch.
same memories and stuff. I think it's about compartmentalization,
Yeah,
like
yeah, it
more
could be
than
too.
anything.
Yeah.
And it's really funny that you're like they kind of set you up to fail because that was one of the things my mother and I were fighting about. Because she was like, it's just so easy to follow directions, and we were getting into it and to like why this works, and then she was like, well, how would you use the substance? And it's like I am not a social person. I am, and again, I am kind of Margaret Qualley's age, so you know, talk to me in another like 20, 30 years, right? But I I'm so much of like an at-home person. It's like I might genuinely have more fun being the older Elizabeth, like staying at home
Right.
eating and watching TV. And then it's like, yeah, let the young one go do all the press stuff. I don't want to. Like, I think I'd be
Right.
fine. And she's like, well, yeah, and she pointed out that I'm a writer and not like a TV personality, which I'm
Yeah.
sure, but it was very funny to realize that like I would be so good at using the substance that I would not be approached for the substance.
Well, and I think that's interesting though too, because the guy that she meets at the hospital, the young nurse guy,
Yeah.
he she does end up coming across him in his old state later.
Yeah.
And he's obviously having a similar problem, but he, at least what little we see of him, he's holding down a job as a nurse. So it's not like
Yeah.
his is some kind of fantastic life. He just wants the young aspect. Um,
But I,
and
I
it,
do think that's a really compelling like part of the movie because we see
mhm,
through the implication early in, at least for me, I thought was very much like here's the exception. Here's what happens when this like fantastical thing is misused and gone wrong.
mhm.
And then like you meet this person who's also going through it and he's like, has she started to eat has she started to like eat away at you? And it's like there's something I that was the scariest part of the movie for me. As someone who would not misuse the substance, that was the scariest part of the movie for me was the idea that like the misuse is kind of built into the system. Like that's how it's kind of that's how it's set up to work, I think.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Well, here's the thing, because I'm also a homebody who isn't going to be all like, out and doing things. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. I don't even think it's that. I think it's the fact that when you're in the young self, you want to spend more time as your younger self. You're, you're free of all the physical and other ailments that you might have. You look better, and all that. And, you know, it's like for me being 51 now, if I could go back into a younger version of my body and with all the knowledge I have now, like, would I do things differently? Would I act differently? Maybe, possibly. And so I think that's what is the attraction to that is,
Yeah.
could you be a better version of yourself with the knowledge that you have now? And so I think that's part of what happens during all of this is that Sue, when she is Sue, she is taking advantage of that fact that she's now younger. She's now can do things. When Demi Moore was coming up, she was in the 80s. And, so like I was, and so but I mean, she was an adult in the 80s. But like being an adult in the 2020s, that's different, than it would
Yeah.
be in the 80s. And so things are different now. And so it just, I don't know. I can see the attraction to misuse.
I
Um,
also it's easy for me to like,
yeah.
kind of flippantly be like, I'd be really good at not I do think just because of the sort of person I am, I think I would be okay in specifically the like 1 week on, 1 week off capacity. Like
Right.
because if I go full steam ahead for a week, I'm going to want an excuse to stay at home another week. Like that just it plays into my psychology well enough. I don't think that would be the issue for me. But at like on the topic of misusing the substance, I do think there's something just like very human about
Hmm.
taking your older self for granted. Like I think that's
Yes.
something that we all relate to. And it's I think getting more prevalent in my life as well. There are things that like I wouldn't have done, you know, as a teenager that like,
Yeah.
if I had realized the long-term impact, I would have had my fucking wisdom teeth out sooner, that's for sure. But it's like it's like there's something very interesting because it's like I still make bad decisions even
Oh yeah.
though I know what's going to happen. And it's so interesting um to see Sue, who's like dominating the entertainment field because she has all of the experience of Elizabeth, who has like earned this confidence and like
Exactly.
knows the ropes and stuff, but then still be like naive and, you know, I guess entitled enough to be like, I don't really care what happens to me in the future again. Like she
Yeah,
can't even see 3 months ahead.
right.
Um, to kind of get like back to the synopsis of this movie, she like when she and Elizabeth start butting heads more in sharing the space and the time, and they become more and more separated. Sue ends up snapping and deciding she's not going back into Elizabeth's
Yeah.
body, and she her solution to this, and this I think was the point where I was like, oh, Sue might be a dumb dumb. Like there might be a big difference between, because I
Hmm.
understand, like I, especially as someone that was fine and has developed a chronic illness, I fully understand the idea of like taking energy away from my future self when a career thing shows up. I go to conventions and then I come home and I'm dead because it's like
Yeah.
I didn't have the energy to do that thing that I just did, and I knew it was dumb when I did it, and I did it anyway.
Oh, I
So
will
like,
guarantee you, I've known people. I used to go to conventions all the time for a job that I had. And, I was in my 40s, doing all
yeah.
that. And, I felt old then, but, but I knew people who were in their 20s who were going to the conventions, working them, doing whatever. They were knocked out after a weekend of doing that. That is not even a just
It's
an old person or a chronic illness type of thing. Conventions are rough. Like they are
see,
just exhausting.
it's really, and maybe this is just because like I didn't used to work at them. I will say I was very much in my 20s a go to conventions, don't sleep, take a Red
Yeah.
Bull, hit the panel kind of a like,
Yeah.
on the road type of person. And it's like it's been an adjustment, because I know that I know better. Like I know I can't do that anymore,
Yeah.
and I do it anyway, and it takes a toll. And it's like it's interesting to see the physical representation of that in the substance, but it's
Hmm.
also there is that turning point where Sue's just like, I'm not doing it anymore, and her solution is just to take out all the stabilizer fluid and keep it in jars. It's like that's insane. That's just
Yeah.
because it's not even like a, you can't see the repercussions of like one tempting action. She can't see ahead more than like 3 months, and it's like
Yeah.
I think it makes Sue really interesting as a character. That's the point where I kind of started to, because up until then I could see her as like one struggling Elizabeth who's just
Right.
like being tempted and swayed and compartmentalizing herself. And then it Sue really does take on her own personality when she is just like, I'm not going back in.
Yeah.
And you are, and I got really stressed for her, because even though she's being very nefarious, it's like what are you gonna do? And then, you get the 3 months later title card and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, and I think it's interesting too because when she's Elizabeth, she has to react to the fact that Sue has overstepped. And, in
Yeah.
the first time, she just gets that gnarled finger, and then later it's like half her body is messed up. And then and each of those times she calls the number and they're like, you have to respect the balance. Do you want to stop? And each
Yeah.
time she considers it, but then she goes, no. And so that's what's interesting to me is that um she is still making that choice. She's still her life at that point, she feels like her life means nothing unless she's Sue.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately the crux of it all is just that there is nothing for she feels like there's nothing for her anymore because she lived a life, obviously she is alone, she has no no spouse, no kids, no nothing. She's just, a single older woman who is just now doesn't even have a job. And so um there's a moment where she runs into an old classmate um
Yeah.
and um gets his number and then calls him later after she's been gotten the finger, just the finger, the one like extra day it messed her up. Um, but she calls him and sets up the date, and she's all set, and she's looking great and everything like that. But she keeps seeing Sue, and it keeps messing with her so much so that she ends up like like not going on the date with the guy. Um, and it's just like that's the interesting thing about this movie that I like the biggest thing I took away from this movie is that this movie is really about um aging and beauty standards for women, because it's not just like, I mean, we're seeing it based on, on Elizabeth's experience. Yes, she's a famous person and everything in this world and everything, but it's generally speaking a problem for all women, and I think that's what hits so hard for me. I mean, I'm just a dude, but like, I just like that was the biggest thing that I took from it. And I think it's interesting too, because there's all this, it's so fascinating because this movie is all about um this these beauty standards and stuff like that. And so much so that when she sue, um the camera of the and everything gets really super highly sexualized
Yeah.
on Sue and her body and her movements and everything else. She's wearing like very little clothing most of the time. Um, and I found it to be really funny too, because I mean, you could see where guys would probably go to this movie and be like, "Oh yeah, this is really great," but it's like that's not what it's for. But I think it's like this weird little like subversive thing she's doing with it too. Like she's intentionally Farge is intentionally sexualizing all this, like daring you to enjoy it for
Yeah.
those reasons when that's not what it's for. It's like there's it's I see it as like the fact that Sue is enjoying it, and that's she's enjoying that aspect of it because she hasn't had that in a while, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's this weird um stuff, like these weird statements, not weird in a bad way, like in interesting statements she's making about just about women, aging, beauty, sexualization, and all of that, especially with the producer Harvey, which is a very not so veiled reference to Harvey Weinstein,
Yeah.
um and everything else. It's just, as a guy, I found it to be like fascinating. But like I know, the many women who have seen this, took away even more from that I maybe not getting either. So because I don't have that experience as a woman to know what that's like. So
And
but,
to the there is something that just like really resonates as a woman about like the little moments in this movie you were talking about where
mhm.
she doesn't go on the date. And
Yeah.
I think that scene is where Demi Moore was like really robbed of the Oscar, because
Yes.
I think we all do kind of have that urge to compare ourselves to other people. And I have also like been there where I cancel plans because I'm having like a bad hair day or bad makeup day or whatever. And there's just like this weird external pressure, and as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot better at identifying like, oh, hey, um, I don't need to look good to leave the house. Like I can go out
Right.
into the world if I'm having a gross day, but it's like, I'm someone that comes under very little scrutiny for my looks, and I can fully understand like being a celebrity, I can only imagine, but I felt so bad for Demi Moore in that instant because
Yeah.
it's like, I've been there.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting too because with somebody who is Demi Moore, who has lived a life in the spotlight, who has been known for her looks and her body. She did back in 1996, she did a movie called Striptease, where she played a stripper. And so people, would talk about her in terms of her body, and and at that time she was in her, had to be in her 30s, and was like people were talking about it because she was already an older actress at that point, which is ridiculous that she was an
Yeah.
older actress in her 30s. But it just it for somebody like her, I think it was great. I think if anybody like had been, if it hadn't been, it had to be somebody of her stature, I think, like in terms of Hollywood, she's a known star, and somebody who's been in the industry a long time. And so I think it was great that she did it and that she took on this role, which required nudity as well. And that, she was, from what I read, she was very nervous about it. But uh, Margaret Qualley helped her, who also is nude through part of it. Um, they're nude in a lot of it, like because they're just having to switch bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just like, it's it's crazy, like just the amount of. I think that's what's great about it too, because it was a woman who directed and wrote the story and stuff like that. So she knew what it was going to be like to do this
Yeah.
in that way. Um, I'm glad it wasn't a male director or writer and everything trying to deal with all this and everything. That's why, like, I really we need more women writers and directors um in this telling women's stories, rather
Yeah.
than guys doing it all the time. And Coralie Farge is great. She's only
She's
made the two
fantastic.
movies. Yeah, she's only made the two movies, this and Revenge is fantastic as well. It's so good, so brutal. Um, and
Revenge is much more, I don't want to say much more the kind much more the kind of aesthetic perhaps, because I do like high concept batshit crazy horror movies as well.
yeah,
Um but it was a very good I liked Revenge well enough that I saw Coralie Farge's name for The Substance and I was like, I'll be there opening day.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
no questions asked. But it was also a very good precursor, I think, into the showing like half dressed women as vulnerable and not as sexy. I think that's a very hard
yes,
thing to do, even for women directors sometimes. That can be a very
yes,
challenging thing to do. Uh, an example that comes to mind of it being done where it is still kind of sexualized, I think, is American Mary, which also I love. It's a
Mm.
great movie, and it has
I haven't
moments
seen that.
where, oh, well, there's a lot
I've
of
heard it's good. Yeah,
partial nudity in there, and
yeah,
sometimes it does come across as like very vulnerable and like you get that vibe, but then sometimes it is like a strip tease and it's sexy and it's like,
right.
they kind of try to do that thing where it's like, oh look, this is what the male gaze is like, while also clearly doing it for the male gaze.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, and
one reason
go
why I
ahead.
did love Revenge, one reason why I think The Substance works so well, why Coralie Farge is like one of my favorite directors, is because she can consistently hit the mark of like, here's how I want you to feel about the nudity in the scene, and you're not going to
Yes.
feel anything else about it because it would be uncomfortable if you did. And it's like,
Yeah.
I that's so hard to do, and she's so good at it.
Yeah, I think that's what was great about it too, is like, she's like she in this one, she's daring you to like get turned on, and like, like daring guys to get turned on, and then like she fucks with it. It's like the scene where she's like, lots of low angles of, Margaret Qualley during the dance sequence and stuff like that. Lots of, lots of butt shots. But like, one time there's a big bubble on her butt. So it's like, just as things are getting like, quote unquote good in the video, like it just like, oh, we're gonna fuck with you. And
Yeah.
that's what I loved about it too, is just like it was just those kind of things just were fantastic in that, because it's I don't mind gratuitous nudity. Sometimes that is a statement in itself,
Yeah.
and so, um, but, and, good sex comedies and, sex and horror, they go together. They're great. But, when you can use it like this and really kind of like dare people to, enjoy it and to, um because that's not what it is for. Like, she's using it as this statement. She's showing you these women's bodies, in like conversation with each other and showing you. And I think that's what makes it great with Demi Moore, is that, you know this is an older woman's body. This is a woman who's in shape. She was just
Yeah.
doing the exercise video and stuff like that. But it's still in the movie, it's a 50-year-old woman's body. In reality, it's a 60-year-old woman's body. So, it's like, I think that's what was most interesting about it, is that they all, like, were so, like, not brave, but like so daring and everything,
Yeah.
in terms of pushing that, for this story, because they could have probably done it in a way that didn't show that much, um
Yeah.
and still gotten the story across enough that you didn't need that. But I think that, it helped push that, especially with the um the topics of aging and the beauty standards and stuff. Because, you see Demi Moore's body as it is, and then when she in Sue, you know, it's still like, it's just the younger version of the body. She's got those marks on her body that now are
Yeah.
higher up and tighter on her body. And I think that's really, really fascinating, that it just shows this, the progression of time in a way that, you
I
know, you couldn't do maybe otherwise. Go ahead.
I also just think it's really um like just transcendently beautiful that it goes full circle, because by the time we get to Monstro Elizasu and she's trying to like put on a pretty face, she's trying to like do
Yeah.
makeup and stuff, I think it's just like really fantastic that she looks back at Elizabeth Sparkle and and
Yeah.
it's like that kind of self-conscious nature. Like she is still experiencing, like her doubts about herself, but they're through such a lens that it's not really about youth or, beauty standards anymore. It's just like here's someone who's happy kind of a thing. And
Right. Yeah.
I love I I'm a big sucker for cyclical storytelling anyway, but I that hit really hard when she go and it's um to the third act of this movie.
Yeah. Let's get into
I
it.
Yeah, I I just I was already in, right? Like at so many different points. I came into the theater ready to love the movie,
Right.
and Demi Moore's giving like the performance of a lifetime, and Margaret Qualley's giving the performance of a lifetime. It got so much weirder, so much faster than I was
Oh my
anticipating,
God. Yeah.
which is my favorite thing for movies to do. I feel like so seldom am I like genuinely caught off guard that when a movie like back to back is just throwing crazy shit at me, I'm like, oh my God. So I was already I'm in 100% at this point, but Montreal is this the sinking realization because when they introduce the substance, there are like very clear instructions, and anyone that has seen any movie since
Yep.
like Gremlins, right, knows yeah, if they're giving you instructions, it's because something is about to go horrifically wrong. And one of the first things that she pulls out of the box says activate only once, and you're like, oh
Yes.
no, that can't be good. And I, at that point, kind of thought like, oh, she's not going to get along with Sue. She's going to make like a second Sue, right? And
Yeah.
then so much shit happens with her and Sue that I had kind of forgotten about it. And
Yeah.
Sue pulls out the activate only once thing, and it's like, oh no, oh
Yeah.
God. And it's like
Yeah.
clearly expired, and it's like, this is, oh no. I was so stressed. And then we get the introduction of Monster Elizasu, and the there's like this very, I don't want to say that they dropped it because I don't think they did, but there's this energy in the beginning that gets kind of overshadowed by weirdness and gore and stress and emotion. But like when it starts with the star at the
Hmm.
beginning of the movie, there's this almost like fairy tale-esque element to it that I had kind of forgotten about in the batshit crazy everything else that happens in the substance. And from the Monstro Lizasu title card onward, like I did kind of feel transported back to that feeling of like we're just having a larger than life story here, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, this is it's a very, it's more like a Grimm's fairy tale at this point because it's still very weird and
Yeah.
gross, but it has kind of gone back to that like storybook, here's how it's going to wrap up. And like to the extent that I almost kind of believed it was going to work out at certain points for Elizasu. She's like the one of my favorite parts, especially on the rewatches of this movie. She goes into the, she's like squeezed into half of this dress, and she's got earrings poking out of her face, and she's got the cardboard cutout, and she walks up in this dress, and the guy just lets her through the door. And
Yeah.
it's like incredible, absolutely impeccable, that she just like is, she's doing it, against all odds. She's made it here, and she's gonna have her one night, and obviously it does go terribly wrong. My heart breaks for her every time like she
Yeah.
sees the hallway of cheering people, and like we know that they're not there, and she doesn't know that they're not there. And I feel so bad for her, but also it's just like there's, because it has such like a high suspension of disbelief in this like very enchanting element, there's that part of me that just like really wants it to work out for her. And I think it's also really beautiful, like we have the big bloodbath scene, and
Yeah.
everybody gets to be comically evil on the set, and but then it does end up okay. Like I feel like it ends up okay for her.
I guess. I mean, she ends up with a smile on her face.
It's like such a magical moment for
Yeah.
her. And first of all, I when you're seeing her come apart, that was not the part of her I thought was going to make it to the end of the movie. The face detaches and starts crawling away, and it's like, yikes. Um, but she does, she makes it like it feels almost like back home. And
I think it's go ahead,
she's just
sorry.
so enchanted. And it's crazy because like the human part of your brain sitting in a seat watching this movie is like, this is awful, like she absolutely destroyed herself for no good reason.
Yeah.
But then like because she's seeing like so much magic in this moment, and she's being taken back to like all of the things that have meant the most to her, it's still kind of wonderful to experience because you're like, this is what it was all about outside of everything else that she went through, and
Right.
she made it. And I just, there's such a like complex wave of emotions, which is crazy to feel as you're watching like boobs fall out of this like scary monster creature that they've put together. It's such a wild ride, and I don't, uh, there's like no other movie that I feel this many things about simultaneously.
No. Yeah, that was the thing. Like for me, like I was so invested in everything that was going on. I was just like fascinated by everything. And just before she does all this, before the whole Alyssa Sue stuff, she has to switch back. Um
Yeah.
and because she'd been there, like we said, 3 months as Sue. like with no brakes, and she'd used up her supply and she just couldn't do anything. And she tried to call them and try to figure it out, and they're like, you have to switch back. That's the only way to regenerate the fluid, to be able to do that. That's why you have to respect the balance. um and so she switches back, and the version of Demi Moore that, like, or Elizabeth, that is there afterward is so horrifying. It's just like the most like ancient crone version of somebody that you could be. Um, and it's
Ancient
just like,
fastest crone. She's like
oh
a
my God,
night terror. She's like
and
scurrying
strong.
around. It's like, oh my God.
She was strong and fast. She was booking it down those stairs. She was pulling Sue by one leg, like with one arm, like into the living room. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but you're super strong and super fast. Like,
He's
you're okay.
genuinely
You may look,
terrifying.
yeah, so that was like, that's what was crazy. And just like, I think it's still so funny too, because even in that moment, she's still like, she could have stopped it. She could have
Yeah.
stopped everything, but she just couldn't. She had to have, that one last moment as Sue.
That
And but that's the moment that's the craziest to me, like before the Alyssa Sue stuff, but was just that moment where she goes to switch back, and like she wakes up halfway through.
yeah.
And then they have that crazy ass fight. Um, but like, and that's where it's like they're the same, but they're not. Like, definitely Sue had, like, there definitely, I think, like you said, there's this compartmentalization going on where they are two distinct personalities
Yeah.
within that share the same mind, two different bodies, two different personalities, but sharing the same mind, um, and experience, I guess. But it's I don't know, that part was very fascinating to me just before the whole Alyssa Sue stuff.
And
Um,
that part, I feel like I could like throw a dart at this movie and be able to say this about something, but it's just so heartbreaking that she
yes,
makes the choice and the like she goes and gets the stuff. She braves the world in this like scary new creature-esque old person body
yeah,
to go get everything she needs to, terminate the process. And then when she's like, when she's looking at Sue and she's like, you're the part of me that they love. And it's like, that gets me every time. It's so
I know,
sad.
and like that's what frustrates me the most about the whole situation too, is that she, like, I get that she's 50. She doesn't have family, she doesn't have a partner, she doesn't have a job anymore. She could have had more. Like, I get the
I
50s
know.
old, don't get me wrong. I'm 51. So it's I'll be 52 in just a couple of months. Um, so I get it. It feels like sometimes that you're just like, oh my God, what have I done with my life? I don't have anything, blah, blah, blah. But like giving it all up because you want that younger self. And I get that it's different for women, and it's different
Yeah.
for somebody who's a famous woman, and like your commodity, your youth is a commodity like that. So I can't in any way say anything in regards to that because I don't have that experience. But I was just like, that's what was heartbreaking about it, was just like she didn't give it a chance.
I know
And because she felt like she couldn't give it a chance, like that she had to choose Sue over
it's something
herself.
that I think the movie sets up just absolutely perfectly because it
Hmm.
really relies on that sunk cost fallacy, where it's
Yeah.
like every time we see her almost make the decision to terminate, there's like a big scary thing that she has to deal with if she chooses to terminate.
Yep.
There's the incident with the finger where she's like where she just learns that like it won't revert back, and it's like, well, now not only will I be myself, but I have to deal with this thing that's made the situation worse, so I'll just do better from here, you know? And it's like
Right.
uh the more she sinks into Sue, the more it's like the stakes are really high if she gives up. And I think I think the movie does a really good job illustrating that, because it's kind of hard to explain, but I think probably everyone has been there at some point with
Yeah.
something, right? Where it's like I spent a bunch of time or money or, you know,
Yeah.
something of myself that I will have completely lost if I walk away from
Oh,
whatever this thing
absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
I've had that with like all kinds of dumb decisions that I've
Me
made, and
too.
it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you just kind of like there's that compulsion to want to see things through, and I think it's just another layer of the like heartbreak on this thing, where it's like that's such a scary life to have to face if you walk away, even though you know that, you know, continuing is not going to go well at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what ultimately happens. That's why she doesn't terminate too. She's like, I'm already this way. I have one more chance as Sue for this New Year's Eve thing to be the most popular ever. I will
Yeah.
have everything. I have all eyes will be on me, the adoration and everything else. She will get to feel that for one more time, even if it means being stuck like the old crone forever after that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
and or
wonder
die.
how much, like, I wonder how aware Elizabeth is at that point also, you know, because like she's clearly reacting out of like a survival instinct and then out of
Yes.
kind of a trauma response. And you know that she's not thinking clearly all the way through just based off of the performance and her actions. But
Right.
there is that question too where it's like, because she has, assuming that she has at this point, which is highly debatable, but like assuming that she's regenerated enough fluid
Yeah.
for even that night, like she has to know that she and or Sue is going to die if Sue goes to this event.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, like, was the plan for her to like was it like a, if we can just get through tonight we can work something out, or like did she know that I, because even if Sue hadn't woken up early in the switching process, I just feel I feel like on some level Elizabeth must have known that that was like not going to go well. And it's I wonder if she just wanted to die as Sue at that point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Not realizing that Sue would try to go. I mean, oh, Sue as Elizabeth, whatever,
Yeah.
would try to do the activator and, do the Alyssa Sue. Um, yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where you're just like, I don't know. You don't know what she's thinking, and I think that's what makes it just the most heartbreaking about all of this is just that, she needs that one last night as Sue, and because she's already so far gone and
There's
she
also
just doesn't see
something
a way out.
like as Sue that I think is really interesting, because we it could be hinted at either way, I think,
Right.
but it seems because there is the first time that she misuses the substance, it is to have an affair with like a hot motorcycle dude. But then
Right.
like pretty much after that, all of the things that she misuses the substance for, like when she starts thinking and like bargaining and making deals for it, it's pretty much all for career stuff. And it's really interesting, this like wish fulfillment fantasy aspect of the substance, where it's like you can go back and do something over. Elizabeth is very clearly lonely in her life.
Yes.
She's like seeking these human connections, and she's felt kind of like stabbed in the back by this industry that she gave her life to instead of presumably
Yeah.
doing something else. I think it's really interesting that like even with that sort of she has a second chance, what she's trying to outdo is once again her career. Like she's trying to make all of these big career jumps instead of like settling down. And it's not that she has like no idea of settling down, but she's very clearly not close to the guy that's staying with her, like
Yeah.
at the end of the 3 month time skip. He's very quick to abandon her alone in a bathroom to what
Right.
he thinks is a monster. So I can't imagine that they were that close. But it's like I just think it's really interesting that she's using all of her experience and her smarts and her like know-how for her career while also making the same mistakes over again that she feels like she's made. Like
Yeah.
it's a very interesting aspect of Sue.
Yeah, it's yeah, the movie's just heartbreaking. It's just
It's so
there's
sad.
so many things like you said. Like I mean, she's
And
choosing this job stuff and I mean, but like you said, in the meantime, she is trying to make these human connections with people, but like in the most superficial way, the parties and the guys that she's sleeping with and stuff like that. Like none of it seems to be in anything of substance,
it
to use the
still
word.
feels like an afterthought for her.
Yeah. And I think that's what's interesting about it too, is like I think that's a kind of a play on the title of the movie. The substance is just that ultimately, what is it that she's trying to find? What is the substance of her life that she's trying to find, like through this de-aging process? It what is it that you want out of it? And I think that's for anybody like that's doing it is like, are you going, what are your reasons for going back on it? And I think that's again, the more you do it, the more you're going to be tempted to continue doing it and to abuse the system. And that it is a rigged system in that way, because it is very plainly like people messing around with stuff that is
Yeah.
like it's all human experimentation because they're just like we want to see what happens. um because if this was like a really truly like good thing, they'd have the doctors doing it for you. They'd be like, okay, come in and we'll help do all this, and we'll keep your body here and keep you fed, blah blah blah. You got to come back, blah blah. So I mean that's what's great about it is like it's just the our own human failings in this, are always going to trip us up with that because we're always going to want to be younger and better than we are,
And
as we get older, especially as we get older. So,
I, I love the fact that like she runs into the doctor 2 times and the young doctor is the one that like turns her onto the substance because he clearly thinks like, oh, this has done wonders for me.
yeah,
And then it's the older man that kind of tries to commiserate with what Elizabeth is going through, and she seems a lot more adverse to it, which I think makes a lot more sense because it's like, if you're because she's treating the substance like a secret,
yes,
which
yeah,
I it was just kind of an interesting thing on human nature. But yeah, the human experimentation thing, all of the most sinister parts of this movie to me are the phone calls where the guy
yeah,
just like clearly does not give a shit. And she's like,
yeah,
Sue's not respecting the balance, and he's like, well, respect it. And it's
yeah,
like, which on the one hand, it's the best advice that he could have given her, like, because she
yeah,
needs the reminder that she is also Sue, and she's like
yeah,
not remembering this. She's like boxed this part of herself away to be Sue. But then, like, chills at the end, right? Where it's like he knew they have the instructions like as clear as day that objectively should have been like much easier to just follow, right?
yes,
But and so you know what you're supposed to do from the beginning. And the guy knows why it's important, but he
right,
waits until it's too late to tell her that is how the fluid regenerates. And it's like,
yeah,
I it's not even the fact that he doesn't tell her early because that doesn't seem to be the MO of the substance people, but it's that he
Right.
tells her at all. Like
Yeah.
at that point, he's just kind of rubbing it in, I feel like.
Yeah. It's like, well, now that you screwed up, here's why you needed to do this. Like, it's like, well, why wasn't this in the instructions to begin with? The instructions are so super vague too. It's like the
Yeah.
most, like, like one word for everything. And it's just like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, this is the most set up, stupid ass thing ever.
I,
Um,
and there's some stuff where it's like, I think I'd be better at following the instructions. There are some of those instructions that I would never in a million years have put together. Like the activator fluid being
yeah.
spinal juice. I never,
Yeah.
like, if I saw that needle in those capsules, I
Yeah,
would
I would have
have
never
just,
known that that was yeah.
yeah, my matrix would have died while I was trying to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to activate. Like, I'm maybe too dumb to have figured out the substance.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. But yeah, so let me get to my thoughts on
Yeah.
Monstro Lizasu.
Yeah.
So when that finally happened, like I said, when I was in the theater watching it, I was just like, okay, like we've had this really intense, very fairly serious, like examination of women and aging and beauty standards and the entertainment industry and all this stuff. And I was like so on board with all of it. And then she goes and does, she activates herself using the bad activator. And out comes Monstro Lissasu. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing now? And it was just so left her, like you said. I mean, you were on board with it, but I was just like,
I was.
this last 20 minutes is taking me completely out of the movie. Like it wasn't enough to completely erase the movie for me because like that's the thing. Like I'm not generally speaking, I will say, generally speaking, I'm not one who will let a bad ending completely ruin something for me. It depends on the stuff, like
Yeah.
the entertainment or something like that. If the ending completely unravels everything that you'd watched up till that point, yeah, then it just doesn't, then it just sucks. But if it just is like one of those things like with this movie where it was just like, okay, this is so batshit insane that I was just like, no. I can, and I watched it again. This was literally watched this for only the second time. I watched it once in theater and once tonight just before we recorded. So this was
Wow.
the second time seeing it with that ending again. I watched the whole ending and everything like that. And it's heartbreaking. Don't get me wrong. It is heartbreaking. For as goofy and weird and crazy as it is, it's just heartbreaking. It's so sad. Like because you're just like,
Yeah.
she's just trying to like get this one last thing for herself and she's this monstrous creature who like somehow made it onto the goddamn stage to begin with. Like how did nobody stop her before she got
That's
up
so
there?
funny.
Like and then like it was so bizarre too because I'm like, okay, all the other women on the stage are all like in thongs and they're topless, and there's kids in the audience. There was at least one girl in like one like child girl in the audience. I was just like, okay, that's weird. But it was the most bizarre thing to watch. And then just like you said, the breast that pops out of her face and and then just her arm getting cut off. I think it was her arm that broke off and
Yeah.
just like hoses down the audience. She had so much high pressure blood inside of her that I was just like, okay, you're dead already. So it was just it was just insane. I love it too because like one of the little um tidbits of trivia that I saw was that Coralie Farge was the one holding the blood cannon so that she could spray the audience directly. So I love that. Um, but yeah, it's just but it was just heartbreaking. And then,
It's
she falls apart on the street on like on the sidewalk or whatever and like just her face in this mass of like flesh manages to like put herself onto her um star on the walk of fame. um it was just I don't know, it was just heartbreaking, and it's like you said, it's got this like it's got this not to me it wasn't like really good or anything like that, but it was fascinating to see, at the end she gets this smile and she gets this moment of just basking in the I guess the sparkles that are coming down. So she gets the sparkle one more time. Um
And I think, and then there's also like, there's something, I, there's a glass half full, half empty test for anyone at the end, I think, because
yeah.
from day to day, I watch this movie more than I should admit to. I watch it a lot. Um, like any excuse to watch The Substance, and I immediately am like, yeah, I'll do it.
That's funny.
I was to say, I saw it like several times in theater,
Wow.
because I kept thinking it was going to go out of theater any day. And then when it came back for the Oscar run, I was like, I'm going again, baby. Like I'm so excited. Um, but I do think it's interesting because like day to day, my take on the end will change a little bit. There's
Right.
because that's not the last shot. That's like the last thing that we see of Elizabeth. But
Right.
there is just a shot after that where like her star is cleaned up once again. And I
Yeah.
do think that is kind of like, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Because on the one hand, nobody remembers that she was a monster. Like the star is still
Yeah.
there. Like it could be a
Yeah.
very optimistic, like she carved out her little piece of history and that was completely unchanged by all of the drastic human experimentation, murder, and blood soaking that
Yeah.
happened to her, which is, great. And then on the other hand, it's like, it is kind of sad because look at what she put herself through.
Yeah.
And it all kind of amounted to nothing more than what she had at the start of this movie, which is,
Right.
it's, it's interesting. And I thought it kind of grounds what was otherwise a very hyperbolic end to a film, I think.
Yeah.
And
I
also, I one more time, it's why I went to see it so many times in theater, and it's why I maybe need to go back into therapy. I don't think anything has ever made me at no movie has ever filled me with so much pure joy as as like Monster Elizasu. It's so crazy. And I love that they did it. I'm always complaining that movies don't take big enough risks, and The
yeah.
Substance stepped up to the plate, you know?
No, and
They
that's
went
the thing.
for
It
it.
took a huge risk, could have completely alienated the audience. And I know that it did too. There were some people who saw that, watched that at the end, and they were like, "Oh no, I'm fucking done. Like this movie's trash." Like, but I could take it for what it was. Like I understood what they were going for with it, even if I didn't think that it needed to actually happen that way. But that's fine. It's not my decision to make. They made the movie. It's all good. But again, it was my top movie of that year, despite that, and or because of that. Um, but but I do think it's interesting, like when talking about like, that's the last anybody saw of Elizabeth. Because like her body is still in her house. So eventually somebody's gonna go in there.
Yeah, there
Um,
will be aftermath, I guess, at some
yeah, there
point.
will be like, and that's what's so funny is like thinking about all these like the movies and like what are they at like especially horror movies like what happens afterward because somebody's gonna find her old body, they're gonna go, who is this person? If they're lucky they can get fingerprints from her and they're gonna be like, wait, this is she's got the same fingerprints as Elizabeth Sparkle, like what happened to her body? So that's gonna be a medical mystery forever. um but or they'll just say, oh well, she's just some old lady in Elizabeth Sparkle's house, and why is she here and where's Elizabeth at? And it'll be like a weird cold case forever. uh so um but yeah,
The
I don't
sequel
know.
should be presented as like a true crime documentary where they interview Oliver from across the hall, and he has to explain how he didn't notice that Elizabeth was missing. He's got to be like, you have to understand the lady that moved in instead was really hot.
So stupid. Oh my god, it's just
Oh.
ridiculous. But yeah, no, I love this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I'm glad I rewatched it. for the podcast. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it because yeah, it's been one of those movies that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, um, and get talked about on the podcast, just because it's so bizarre. It's so fun. It's got great performances, by both Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. They do such fantastic work. Um,
And you touched on this a little bit
yeah,
already, but I seriously, the hardest part for me to watch, I didn't squirm at the teeth falling out or the fingernails or the blood or the spine injections.
it was the
I
shrimp
look
eating.
I look away every time that man eats a shrimp.
It's
I don't
disgusting.
like
It's
watching
so
it.
gross. And you know why? Because it's realistic. That's
Yeah.
for me, anything that's real, I get squeamish about. Like I can't watch anything that involves real like body like surgeries or like everybody was fascinated with Dr. Pimple Popper for a while. And I'm like, ew, gross. No, I don't like real
Gross.
body shit. That shit's
Yeah.
gross. But I can watch really gory, goofy shit because I know it's fake. But
Yeah.
but yeah, eating that
The
shrimp,
shrimp.
oh, so disgusting. Oh, um, it's just the worst. Like it's just because he was such a slut. It was everywhere. It was like,
Yeah.
how are you that disgusting? Like, uh, I was like, it's so funny too because he gets up to go talk to that guy and he puts his hand on the guy's back, and I could have, I was like, I was prepared for him to have like fucking shrimp shit all over his fucking back,
Me
and
too.
he didn't, and I was like, what the hell? He managed to wipe his hand somehow before he did that because that was gross. But yeah, yeah,
I
that's the
also
one.
props to that guy, to the guy who has his back touched by Shrimpy Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
Worst movie job.
So gross. So gross. But yeah. That yeah. Even everything that we saw with Alyssa Sue and everything else with both Elizabeth and Sue, all the everything else, it definitely the shrimp part was the worst, grossest part of the movie. So, but
Um,
so
there's this so my last kind of like note on this, and it's
yeah.
just another personal story. This movie, it's crazy because I'll watch a lot of movies that are like that are easily movie of the year material. I don't know that any have like worked their way into my life so fast. Like I feel like this movie is a big part of my life, and I feel like that was pretty much true from the first time I saw it. I went to see my partner to take this to I went to take him to see this as well. Well, it was in theater because at that point I knew it was going to be my movie of the year. And he was so irritated because he was like, "You just did this with long legs. You made me sit through like a 3 hour crime drama because you said you didn't want me to miss your movie of the year. And now it's like some other weird." And I was like, "No, listen, you don't understand. This is for real movie of the year." And he's like, "Okay." So we went to see it, and he also pretty squeamish. Um, he does okay. Like we watch a lot of stuff on the small TV at home, and he's fine.
Yeah.
And then this was like the first big gross thing that we had seen on a big screen, and he was not doing well with it. I volunteered to drive home because like I was kind of worried about
Wow.
him.
Yeah.
It was not going well. And he ended up telling his parents um about the movie, and I worry about the impression that I make with my partner's parents because he was like a totally normal guy and I'm constantly taking him to like weird events. um and so and at that time especially, like I didn't do Christmases or holidays or anything over there, and it's like this is not gonna sell me if you keep telling them about the weird movies that I make you watch. If you're like going and visiting them and you're still all like sick talking about the substance. And then again, like it got the Oscar run, and I was he- he's like every time he was at his parents' house, I was like texting him like, please bring up that the substance is nominated for Oscars. I'm a woman of like worldly tastes and not like some kind of freak. I just this because I watch The Substance every year, like it's been out that long, but I watch it on New Year's Eve. Like this is my New Year's Eve film. If you started at 9:55:26 exactly, you watch the ball drop with Monstro Elizasu. It's magical. It's my new favorite way to spend New Year's.
That's too
Um,
funny.
but he was like he had to work on New Year's like day pretty early, but we went to like dinner first with his family, and and his dad, who has been like really worried about the stuff that I'm corrupting his son with, was there. We're having dinner, and his mom was like, do you have any New Year's plans? And I was like, well, champagne and like a movie night. And my partner's laughing because like he knows what I'm gonna watch, and he knows that I have a history of like trying very hard not to bring this movie up with his father. Um, and that it's like I'm trying very hard to dance around the subject, and his mom, is like, "Oh, what are you watching?" And it's like, "Well, I'm watching, the Substance." And she's like, "Oh, with Demi Moore." And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Did you know that it won an Oscar?" And I was like, "Yes, finally, someone else is talking about the Oscars for this movie, for this piece of
So
high
funny.
art that I've introduced into the household, and not like some weird freak movie." But for like
Yeah.
a long time, every time we would get out of the theaters, he'd be like, "Cat made me watch it. It's a weird, fucked up movie." And it's like, quit telling people that.
I mean, it is a weird, fucked up
It
movie. I
is a
mean,
weird, fucked up movie.
it's what makes it good.
But yeah,
I mean,
having my partner's mom like be excited that Demi Moore was up for an Oscar was like, yeah,
that's so funny.
yes.
Well, and I mean, that just goes back to, again, what I was saying before about it being important that Demi Moore was cast in this,
Yeah,
because she is somebody who has had a long career in Hollywood, who has never really made anything that would garner her an Oscar nomination, let alone a win. Um, and I mean, she didn't win the Oscar for this, but she did win the Golden Globe for this. So, I mean,
yeah.
she did win awards for it.
And
Um,
she should have won the Oscar for
she
this
should have.
also.
I don't know who
I
was
don't
she
even
up
remember what
against.
it was.
Yes, that's what I need to look up because I was like,
Was it Honora? Honora pissed me off that year.
yes,
I
yes,
Every
yeah,
now and then I irrationally get like furious at a film because of the Oscars. And I said I was gonna quit doing that after I got so mad at Grand Budapest Hotel. That like I still can't watch it without getting angry. And I was like, I'm never gonna hold a grudge against a movie again. It's not the movie's fault. And then I like after the Oscars, I was watching Anora, and it's like it should have been The Substance. I'm so mad.
yeah. No, it should have been like I was mad about that one too because I was like, that's ridiculous. Like she should have won. Like that was a career like defining role for her. And like I haven't even seen Honora. I don't even like I heard it was good, but like I've also heard it's not that great and that Mikey Madison, as much as she's a good actress and everything, this is what always frustrates me about it too, because Demi Moore was never has never been nominated for it. It had never been like
Yeah.
this was like one time. Like
This was her time.
I don't know if she'll ever make another movie that will get this kind of like recognition in the future. Mikey Madison's young. She might do more work like Honora that would give her like that's what frustrates me about the Academy is because
Yeah.
it should have gone to Demi Moore
It should have. It
because
just
it
should
should have
have.
just been one of those instances where the performance was so good and because she was this older actress, she should have gotten it. It's like the when was it 2 years previous when everything are everywhere all at once when both uh um who was it oh my gosh Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Sue both were up for um no it wasn't Stephanie Sue, was it Stephanie Sue um
Um, I should know this.
for
That was
for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Michelle Yeoh. Yep,
No,
Yao.
no, no.
Yo.
Michelle
Oh,
Yeoh won. She won, but Stephanie Sue and Jamie Lee Curtis were both nominated for Best Supporting
for
Actress
best.
for
Yeah.
that. And
Okay.
so I was like, okay, yeah, Jamie Lee should probably get it because she's the older actress who hasn't, you know, I don't know, I don't think she'd won anything up until that point. Um, and it was just like Stephanie Sue can do more work that will eventually get her there. So I was just like, I if the performance, don't get me wrong, if a younger performer um does something that's so stellar, then yeah, I'm gonna support that person for sure over even older actresses that may not have won either. Um, but I think that in this instance, 100% Demi Moore should have gotten it, no matter what, hands down, because it was such a I keep saying career defining, but it was such a like a
It
bold and
was, though.
brave choice for her to make this movie. And so I loved that she did it. I'm loved that she got the recognition she did. I think the Academy is generally pretty fucking stupid these days anyway. Um,
Yeah.
because they've gotten so up their butts with um with the things they nominate and the things they don't like they need to be nominating more like I don't know, commercial stuff. I think it's weird that commercial stuff isn't nominated. It's always the most artsy, most, because it's the stuff that people are paying to be like um uh put out there in the trades and everything like that. They're like, for your consideration, and they get all this stuff sent to, and even the studios don't really believe in the commercial stuff enough to push it for Oscar nominations and stuff. So it's like when something like Black Panther does get nominated, you're like, okay, that's awesome. Like, that's really cool that something like a Marvel movie got nominated for stuff. Um, but it's just like, I don't know, I can rail against the Academy all day
I
long.
They're frustrating. And it's like horror is such an
And horror never
underrepresented,
gets it.
like
Yeah.
it never does. And when it does, it's
When it
like
does, yeah.
categorized under drama, right?
Yeah,
Like Parasite was an Oscar-winning drama
right.
and like Silence of the Lambs was nominated as a drama. And it's like it was so exciting when The Substance started getting Oscar buzz because it was like I I walked out. One of the things that I said that really irritated my mom on the way home from the movie. I told her though it was like this is this should be an award-winning film, and at the time I fully did not believe it was going to get there,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because like, what are the chances? Like
Yeah,
there are so many movies that have had like a big impact on uh, women and that have I'm not gonna say that X should have won an Oscar, but X had a lot of the same themes, and it's like it
yeah,
didn't get any kind of appreciation for talking about women aging or whatever, because it was written off as like, a slasher horror movie, and that's like I fully expected that The Substance was gonna be like body horror fodder that was just lost to time
yeah.
for most people. And the excitement when it started getting Oscar buzz was just unparalleled. And then this was the first year in a long time that I had actually sat down and watched the Oscars live, because it's like I
Yeah,
want to support Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley and Corley Farge, and I want to be there for them if any of them do this incredible thing, and they all deserved it, like the whole
absolutely, yeah.
team. That was so frustrating. Which coincidentally, it's why I stopped watching the Oscars, because I always get really frustrated about something.
Yeah,
And it's much easier when you're like so invested in a thing. But it would have been great for, you know, horror movies, I think, also to get that kind of attention without being listed as a drama. I know that Parasite won Best Picture,
yeah,
but then they were so reluctant to call it a horror movie after that, which is crazy because like while it was being nominated, everyone was like, "Look, the first horror movie nominated as Best Picture." And then when it actually got up there, they're like, "Well, it's kind of a drama. It's kind of a black comedy. It's
yeah.
kind of an anything that's going to not make this a horror movie."
So dumb. I hate it. Like I
It's
just,
so frustrating.
as a horror fan, I would like to see more horror stuff get nominated because I think
Yeah.
that horror, like, and that's what the thing is. So like people relegate it, and don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of like nowadays we're starting to get a lot more serious horror because horror for a long time was relegated to the you know the side because it was, and even still is done a lot on the cheap, and cheap
Yeah.
effects and jump scares and blah blah blah. But there's so many more fantastic things that delve into that use horror as their storytelling device to tell stories that wouldn't be as interesting if they were just a drama or just whatever. And so I think that's what makes horror so much more interesting and fun, because you can tell all the same stories. You can tell a comedy in a horror
Yeah.
movie and do it in such a different way that it elevates it in both ways, if you could do it, if you can do it right. So um but it's just, I don't know. I'm hoping eventually someday horror will be taken seriously.
I'm
But
hoping so. And I do think that the substance, like it's really easy to be really frustrated at the Academy over the substance
yeah.
because it was robbed. But I I hope that this was like a big step forward for like movies being recognized as art, even when
Yes.
they are horror movies. I I
Right.
I do genuinely feel like the fact that the substance is a horror movie is maybe the least interesting thing about the substance.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like this year. I think that Sinners will probably be nominated. Um,
Yes.
I think that it's going to be, but again, it's going to be listed as like, oh, it's just this, you know, this 1920s drama with horror elements and
I
everything. And
swear
like,
to God,
it's
if they
like,
call
come on.
Sinners a drama, I'm gonna lose my mind. It gets nominated as like a historical
Yeah.
drama, and I just start slapping people, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
I'll react to that. Sinners was another one where like the supporting cast, it's like how you need to nominate everyone. And I
Oh,
noticed
yeah.
that they have the like best casting award now.
For the Oscars?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Which I'm sure it is a coincidence because they've talked about bringing it in several other years, but it's
Yeah.
like I do think it's very fun that they did bring it in for the first year when Sinners was there to nominate, because
Yeah.
it's like how do you I even with the nominations, it's like I don't even know how you like narrow down the cast of that movie to
Well, I think,
nominate, let alone voting would be a nightmare for
well,
that.
that's interesting then too, because the whole thing that I was mentioning about Black Panther being nominated was, I'm pretty sure the year Black Panther was nominated was the year that they opened up Best Picture to 10 nominees rather than five, even though they never
Mm,
expanded the director up to 10, and they kept that at five, which is really fucking dumb. But
that's
Best
interesting.
Yeah, but Best Picture was like expanded from five to 10. I'm pretty sure the year Black Panther was nominated, because people were like, "Oh, it's got to be nominated," and they were like, "Okay, well, we'll do it this time, and we'll open it up from now on, and we'll make it 10." But that was, so it's interesting if Ryan Coogler himself is managing to change the makeup of the Academy Awards with with two of his movies, so that'd be pretty cool. So
That'd be incredible.
yeah, no, what a legacy to go out on for sure, so, but but yeah, no, so, but this movie's great. I love The Substance. It's like I said, it was my number one movie for that year, for
Yeah.
2024, just because it was just, yeah, it was nuts, but it was also saying so much and it had so many good performances, um that it was just fantastic. I loved it. And
I also it Margaret Qualley was really good in this, which we talked about,
yes.
but I Margaret Qualley was so interesting to me because I before the substance could have sworn that I had never seen her ever in my life. And then like as soon as I saw the substance, it's like she's in everything that I've ever watched. Where how have I been Margaret Qualley blind? Like
Yeah. No,
uh
she's been in quite a few things that I really enjoyed.
and it happens sometimes,
Yeah.
with actors like that for me because I'm not always the best at picking out faces, but it was really crazy how like instant that turnaround was, where it was like I learned Margaret Qualley's name for the substance, and then suddenly it's like she happens to be in all of my favorite things also.
Yeah. That's funny.
uh,
Oh man. But yeah, no. She's great. I thought she was fantastic in this. She did such a great job, and I think that, she she's hopefully, making some decent stuff. I mean, she what was it? She was in three movies this last year. Only one, well, no, I saw two of them. I saw Honey Don't and Happy Gilmore 2. And Honey Don't was an interesting movie. She did a good performance in it, but it was a movie that felt incomplete. Like the story just
Yeah.
wasn't there like all the way. Um it was to me, I still felt like it was a decent movie. It just was like there was like at least a half hour that was missing from it that could have tied things up better. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I was just like, okay, this is the kind of the story of this person, like during the course of a week, and that was all we were getting. And so I kind of just took it like that, like maybe that was the gist of it. And so I was still happy with it overall. So, but and
It
then
was
she
not
was
my
also,
favorite, but she was my
yeah.
favorite part of that movie, I think.
Oh
Because,
yeah,
again,
yeah,
another great
agreed.
performance.
Yeah, agreed. And then she was in Happy Gilmore 2, which I don't remember who she was in Happy Gilmore 2. So, which I thought that was a funny movie. It was good. So, but yeah, those are the only two of hers I saw this year. But yeah, in 2024 she made The Substance, Kinds of Kindness, and Drive Away Dolls, and I saw all three and thought she was fantastic in all three. So,
Yeah,
um,
she absolutely was. She was great. And I don't know when it hit, but she was also in that Netflix show. Um, and I thought she was really
yeah,
great in that as well.
Made. Yeah, I didn't watch
Made.
that, but I heard about it. Yeah. She was also on The Leftovers. That's where I originally saw her. She was on The Leftovers, which was like a crazy TV
Oh,
show on
shit, I
HBO.
didn't even know. That's another one. If I had gone back and rewatched, it would have been like, oh yeah, she
Yeah,
was in
she's the
this too.
she's the teenage daughter. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
I was
crazy.
it was like it was right after I had seen The Substance in theater. I convinced my dad for the first time to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she popped up there
Mm,
too, and it was like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God,
And
where has
she's
she
in
been? Like,
she's in one of
uh,
my other favorite movies, The Nice Guys, uh,
oh
with
yeah,
with Ryan Gosling
she's
and yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah. No, she was, and it's a great performance, and that is like one of her first movie roles. So, um, but yeah, um,
And
trying to think.
she and Demi Moore, I think, had a really good like give and take as well. Because
Yes, yeah,
they're different characters, they're different personifications of, the different pieces of this character. But I think I think it was very important that they play that well together too.
yes, yeah.
Because you do really believe that they are kind of the same person. One of my mom's big complaints about this was that like she's like, I don't think Margaret Qualley looks enough like Demi Moore. Uh, and she also got really frustrated because she's like, and she kept like, brought this up several times. She's like, young Demi Moore is prettier than Margaret Qualley was, and it's like that is so not the point of the movie.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta, but I think they gave like a really good unified performance. And also
yeah,
there's that one scene where they get to kind of like mirror each other's movements. I thought that
yeah,
was really fantastic. Um yeah, really just I have this is like one of those rare perfect 10 out of 10 movies for me. And I
yeah.
feel like I've been giving those out more the last couple of years. Um, but we've had like
I
some pretty stiff competition the last couple of years
yeah.
for stuff.
Well, and I think part of it is especially in horror. I mean, there's been a lot of crap, but there's a lot of really good stuff. Like I would argue 2025 was a very good year for horror films. It was very strong in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. Like if something is entertaining, I'm always like 4 out of 5 stars, like hands down. Like if you know, it's rare that I give anything like bigger than that, like right out the gate. Unless it just really, you know, steps up in a big way. That just and for me, or again, for my tastes
Yeah.
and everything like that, because my tastes are always gonna be slightly different from everybody else's. Um, so because it's like I know Sinners is on the top of everybody's list, and it's in my list. It's near the top, but it's not the top. So, and that's not to say that's because it's a bad movie or anything like that or whatever. I just there's a few you know a few other movies that I think that are just
I
for me that were better. So
I'm going to be I'm not going to ask because I know that you can't say it yet, but I am going to be commenting angrily under your top 10 video of the year. Um Sinners was one of those ones where it's like and I never thought Sinners was going to be bad, right? Like
yes.
it looked good, it looked very high quality. I'm not a huge fan of historical horror movies and I'm not a huge
Yeah.
fan of vampires, and I was like I believe that it's going to be a really solid film, but I don't think it's going to be for me. And then like I left the theater and it's like this is my favorite vampire movie of all time.
Yeah.
I might have to reconsider my stance on the vampire genre as a whole, actually, because I was just that was my movie of the year. I my
Yeah.
closest contender, because I'm not doing a top 10 list, I can talk about. My closest contender, I actually didn't see in 2025 because I kept missing it. But I did get to watch, like, actually right before we recorded, when you pushed it back, I was like, I have enough time for a movie. Um, and I finally got to see The Long Walk, which I
Oh,
think
okay.
would probably be like my I it this sounds so dumb. The Long Walk is right neck and neck with Toxic Avenger for my number two spot of
That's so funny.
2025. Um,
I haven't
which
seen
says a lot
Toxic
about
Avenger
my
yet, so
movie tastes, I think, because
yeah.
they're very different films.
Oh, very,
Um,
very different. Yeah.
and it would be like me to have Toxic Avenger nestled right in between like two of the hardest hitting emotional films of the year. But
Right.
no, I like neither one is close to Sinners though. And there was some other stuff too. Like I really liked The Surfer. I know a lot
Mm,
of people were not too crazy about that one, but
I didn't see
right
it.
up there for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, oh.
Dangerous Animals also,
Another one I didn't see.
because I'm like a big shark freak.
Yeah, you're a big shark person. Yeah. I'm not a big shark person, so I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
All
It's a
right.
time. It's right.
Well, hopefully I'll get to, release my top 10 episodes soon and we can talk about it. We
Yeah,
can
I'm
actually
very
talk about it
excited to
off.
see what
We can actually
you
talk about it off air, too.
love Sinners.
So
So,
so anyway, but let's go ahead and wrap it up. Why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
you can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram at Cat Voleur, CatVoleur. You can check out my website, catvoleur.com. Queer Tastes is on the horizon, and I also just released the novelization of Graveyard Shark, so that was fun.
Speaking of sharks.
Speaking of sharks, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on, and thank you for being willing to stay up so long to talk and uh, enjoy talk. I very much enjoyed talking about the substance with you, um, and hopefully we can get you on again pretty soon here. And I think until next time, stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.